Calling to order the Needham Branding and Town Seal Committee for Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. We have quorum here. Okay, want to give you guys an update. We had worked on the seal. We thought we're at a spot where it's okay to move along. But I'll have you some other people at the Native Praying Indians did have a look at it, and there was a sense that at the end of the day, it was still somewhat hurtful, and that although we spent a lot of time working on issues of balance and proportion and height and whatnot, we're still betraying an event of where the English settlers were basically cheating or having an unfair business deal with the local population. It is probably like putting a lipstick on a pig. So there was talk about, do we just go with sort of a more naturalist, sort of the tree? The tree. We did decide, and we were having this conversation. Kate, you had a great line. Well, we knew this would be hard, but
it's supposed to be.
It is supposed to be hard. And I think there was agreement, though, I think, to keep the Native Americans in the seal. I don't think our intention is to just, pun intended, whitewash them out. So we were talking, and the thought came to me that, if you look at the existing seal, other than the business transaction happening in the foreground, it is effectively a landscape showing off Needham's unusual geographic features, such as the Charles River and High Rock. And so I thought, why don't we just go with that view of Charles River, the High Rock, the wetlands, and in the middle, we could have in a canoe, sort of middle foreground, in silhouette, a Native American in a canoe, which is called Nishu. Perhaps on the hillside would be a Wetu or two, and that was the thought. We thought it was worth bringing to you.
And before maybe we go to Amber, I think that we spent a lot of time trying to imagine exactly what the colonist would have been wearing and the indigenous person would have been wearing, and the notion of we're never going to get that right. So it's more of a far away silhouette kind of view. But maybe Amber, you could talk a little bit about your conversation and where we landed when we talked about this as another idea.
Of course. So first, this came about us, the family, the tribe, where, we all took a look at it, and everyone collectively kind of had the same thought, there was something just off with it, and we couldn't kind of figure it out, and then realized it was the depiction of the transaction that really didn't need to be necessary. And still wanting for Needham to give the honoring to Nahwaiden and the Native American proud history that it has, but also not showing the ugly of it, which how do you take that out if you're clearly showing a transaction part of it? Because that's kind of the ugly part of it. So the ideas that we had was maybe something more of a nature, or maybe a native in a canoe or something like that, just more peaceful, but then also being very mindful and careful of how a lot of the states and everything aren't able to use Native Americans in their mascots and things like that because it comes off offensive. So also trying to be respectful of that, but then also give honoring to the very proud and robust history that Needham has with Nahwaiden and the Native American, the Praying Indians. So from that, the ideas came in that maybe it should be more of a landscape, and maybe just the native, and something more peaceful, and something that's not leading whoever's looking at it to see that this was a picture of a transaction. That's what was happening back then. We know it, but that doesn't mean we have to still show that now, I guess.
Thank you.
Louise Miller joined us. Okay, thoughts? I know this is sort of a dump on like authority, but.
But we
and-
have the Needham Praying Indian community next door and we really want them to support. them.
And we were part of the area that was the village.
Can I say something? And I'll try to be serious because I'm not always, but I think that sounds beautiful. And I canoe and kayak on the Charles River there all the time, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And how much would I love for that to be the town seal? My only worry is that the whole point of the seal is kind of like the incorporation, right? So if you show the old, like the way it was, and the corporation, it seems that they're kind of,
I don't know
I
that
don't
the seal
know.
has, I mean,
Isn't
many
that-
people have houses or my town seal's a house. Yeah,
yeah.
It-
I mean, listen, I love,
There's a tree.
that's one of my favorite parts of Needham is actually that is the river, I think, and to have a scene like that, I think would be just fantastic. I just were, it was,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, after what we've all just gone through with this housing thing, people can get very upset about anything, but so just kind of picking at things, but I just think it was like incorporated, like, but that's that's the beauty that it was, right? And now but then we incorporated it and did whatever, or did not do whatever we thought we were doing.
Well, didn't we, there was this transaction, but wasn't there the second transaction where we split away from Dedham?
Mhm.
And because how I sort of saw it was, okay, here's this moment in time that's not syncing up correctly, or you're showing the right thing. So if we do what Amber was talking about, we dial it back a handful of years.
Right.
Or we dial it the other way, where it's happened already, and do we show people in front of,
Yeah.
the first town hall or something like that? Again, it's trying to show the town's history, not
Right,
the land's history. So it's a little, when I think about what's the narrative on it, it's like we show a Native American in a canoe on the Charles River, and where the Charles River it surrounds Needham, it doesn't go through the middle of Needham, so it's not like that's our thing a little bit, so it's a little, there's ways it was easy, I felt like it was easy enough to show and represent that it won't be that hard, it's just getting it right for what's the seal and what's the narrative that everybody's like, oh, sure, that's fine.
yeah, I think the transaction though definitely is something that is a little dark, right?
Always.
All right, Gloria.
Wasn't perfect.
But you're also, it's also, do you want an image or do you want a narrative? We were going with a narrative, which honestly is not the founding town event. But, we didn't really want to have an image of, Dedham and Needham farmers beating each other up in front of the general court, which kind of is the founding town event. So we were sticking with this because it also honored, the Native American past of the land we're on. If we go with, River and High Rock and the canoe, it's an image, it's not a story.
Right.
So,
It's not an image that's going to pop and say Needham, but I'm not sure there is one. Unless you did say the Robert Fuller House or something. Which
Right.
It's almost around the same time as the founding. Right there.
Yeah.
So, the purpose of the town seal really is to seal official documents, so people know that this is an official document. So like appointments
Yeah.
on boards or committees, documents that are produced, the town meeting warrant. That's really what the purpose of the seal is.
Right.
So I think that's the context to kind of think of it. It needs to, I think, somehow be identified as Needham. Not, it could be kind of anywhere, and
Okay.
I also still think that this is gonna engender a large amount of discussion.
Yeah.
So,
I think it will, no
think-
matter what.
yeah, but I
But at the
think
end
we
of the
have to,
day, if you just had a circle with an N in the middle and, you know, agreed and voted that as the official seal, it's still the official seal.
Right.
You're not obligated to tell a story, and you're not even obligated to tell your
But it
own
has to be
story. I mean, you want
distinguishable
it, you
from
want
another
it to,
right,
you want it to, but you're right, it's got a purpose that all it really has to do is be made official.
I think that makes the most sense. When we look at the seal now, there is a story that goes to it, whether or not we know what it is exactly. We all have a story in our mind just based on what we see. And it's the transaction. It's a native and it's a white guy. So we all know usually what that means. But that's the story that goes along with the seal right now. If you remove the part that has the controversy, which would be the showing that it's a transaction, the story is that there's proud Native American roots in Needham, and that's why the seal has the native there. I know when we met before, not as a full group, I want this to be something that years down the road, our generations aren't having to change it because we didn't get it right still, and it's still not showing what's accurate, and it's still, just kind of offensive. But the narrative, people are going to have you can't, it doesn't say, like, they're not going to know it's Nehooidan if we don't say it. They're just going to think it's a Native American. It is the backstory and the people that know the history of Needham that'll know what that means. Yeah, so that was just my point.
Well, one thing, how much does the transaction change if we take the documents out of their hands?
And they're just talking.
And they're just talking.
well,
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
It's a power dynamic.
yeah, I mean, it's,
But the concern is of the.
Because we already balanced it, they're both holding documents. So they're
Yeah.
both holding documents, or neither's holding documents, you really haven't changed the
I'm
dynamic.
just saying you take the transactional, that looks more transactional, like I gave you something there. And what if they're just sort of, I don't know, if you take the documents out, does it say, oh, look, we coexist well
Yeah.
together?
Some problems, we don't even know we don't know who the actors are.
We know who Nehooidan was.
No, that's it. We don't know what he looked like.
except for Wyatt thought he did.
Well, yeah,
Like
he's
his
no.
brother.
Okay,
I had mentioned in the beginning, the New York
Yes.
City seal, and there's no interaction. I mean, get away from the Dutch
Right.
West Indies and all that stuff, but it's just two people just standing, right?
Right.
Representing kind of a generalized look of what they are, but they're on either side of whatever we want to say Needham stands for, a tree or something. Yeah.
I like the perception or the awareness that's being brought about, no matter what you do about whether their arms are this way or that, or whether they have documents or not, the fact that there's a settler and an indigenous person, there's a history, there's the power dynamic there, and we can't whitewash it, really.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of having the environment with a canoe with a Native American there. We're making a statement. We're not necessarily telling the whole story, but I remember Gloria saying it's hard to know all of the history, but we can say that this is indigenous land that we're living in. We can say truthfully what we know about our past, and then there'll be lots of other narratives. Maybe at some point when you release the seal or farther down, you highlight more of the history that we do know. And say, we couldn't really put all of this in the seal. We have put in the seal something that we know to be true.
I just wonder if it's based, when you show that, it seems pre-town history. And do we want this to be?
oh, that's a little far term, but okay.
Well, no, I'm just trying to like.
Pre-incorporation.
Pre-incorporated.
That's what I was
Pre-
trying to say.
pre-Needham seal, right, yeah.
You know,
Well, the other one was way
But it was anyway.
Yeah, it was 100 years before.
It was anyway.
Yeah. That's
You
not a
know-
question to
no,
raise.
just,
Back to the tree idea. I think that's unsatisfying to do that. I mean, we'll come get
Just a
it.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
But I
always the
think
bridge
if-
that Natick has.
But I think if we did, it's some quick, lightning round, what's Needham known for geographically? And it's the Charles River. And we were going, thought of doing it in the logo. That was an option. Then we went to steeple or cupola.
Yeah.
And the bridge, so it's
And
all
a
there.
Oh, we did
Sort
that.
of, yeah.
Okay. So I think that Charles actually interests me. I think we're wrapped around like a tuck on two sides with it.
Oh, right,
Three.
That's.
three.
All the
Only not
squiggly is the
well-
river, right?
It's not three.
Used to be 7 out of 8.
See the check, the what? Yeah, no,
Southern side?
that's just a line,
When you
because
add-
Dedham wanted Cow
Yeah, you
Island, right?
add all of-
So that,
all of Wellesley in.
Kind of, it's
Yeah,
water.
sort of
it's,
this.
it's
Yeah.
wetlands.
Basically,
All right.
35 is when we did that.
So we're kind of wrapped, but anyway, the point is, we are wrapped by it. And so I have no problem doing that. High Rock, I think it's on the seal now. It looks like Mount Mayon.
Or something.
Denali.
Yeah, something like that. So that's why, so the river connects with me. If there is a canoeist on there, it's, I think, a good wink and a nod to make it Native American, saying, and that's our history, old history, that's the early history. But here's the Charles River. It's
But
what we
they,
have.
Well,
they're
then you're
still.
saying that's our land. You're not saying that's our history, but you're saying that's our land.
Yeah,
This is the land that we're now on.
Marshall, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pastoral idea, the images doesn't provoke any controversy. But I think the thing in my mind that's missing is the connection with the incorporation of the town itself.
Okay.
But I don't know how you represent that in a way that's not controversial.
We just have words.
What words?
I mean, we have dates on there, that
Yeah.
means something happened.
Yeah, don't
But
we
what's
have
the
INC
incorporated and-
7011.
Do we
Yeah.
wanna?
If you're going to use the incorporation,
Yeah.
then the records of the town say that they wanted to incorporate because they could not cross the river in the wintertime to get over to
There's
Dedham.
that
That's
river.
what the history of the
Right,
records of the
but they wanted to
town
go to
said.
church, so we can't do that.
That was the
No,
history.
The lone canoeist also brings to me like the riding off into the sunset, like it's almost signaling the end of that, right? Oh, it's beautiful, like riding
Wow,
to the
sunrise or
sunset.
sunset?
Depends on which way you're going, I guess.
And people are saying this is just the past. I would say that this is still Massachusetts land and that there are still indigenous people living in the broader area. Maybe they can't afford to live in Needham, but we were part of a much broader area. And people are not like gone. We're not just talking about something
Right.
long
And if it
ago.
was the nature thing, as I say, I go kayaking, you can still do that. It can
Yes.
still be the image if it's a silhouette of current day and past.
Well, and if we had an indigenous person represented in there, there's plenty of precedent set by other towns, it's sort of like, what's that, what's that going on there type of thing. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to somebody or two out of line. I mean, I'd certainly like that, I could like it more tied to the town, but I would rather have sort of the pastoral past connection versus, here's Oak Tree,
High Rock has a kind of distinctive profile.
Is that a caldera? Volcanic,
It's like close to third kind.
it does look, all right, yeah, yes,
A mesa.
Yeah,
right?
No,
The
I can't
mesas
see
of
the tree-
Needham.
trees are even bigger, but you can make it, you could depict it to look like High Rock and not like
Yeah,
Fuji.
thank you.
We can do whatever if it's.
Oh,
just
that's right,
fun.
we could do it.
Right, you can do whatever you want.
But you could make you could make it look, where people could say, oh, that's High Rock.
I just worry about it. Can you see it from the water at all? 'Cause
No.
that's where
No.
it gets kind of funky.
No, we're
Like,
making, this is pure
like people
fiction.
think,
Okay.
Yeah.
'cause when I've seen it or thought about it,
I mean, we.
you'll seem like Blue Hill. Like that's, to us, we think that's oh no, there's High Rocks, like that's like High Hill.
Swamps around it, but it's actually kind of far from the river.
Yeah, we live pretty near it, and fortunately, we're not on the river right
It's
now.
mostly covered by spray paint
Yeah,
and
I
broken
won-
beer bottles.
I'm sure Amber will speak up when she wants to, but I really wonder what she's thinking about this discussion.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it in. Cynthia, you know when I have something to say, I say it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So any thoughts moving forward? My wrap up sounds like we don't know where to go with this right now. Is there a story that you want to portray? Do we?
Do you wanna look at the mock-ups of the very, very basic canoe? I mean,
Yeah, mock up the design.
All right, sure.
It's hard to talk about.
I mean, yeah.
I think it could help the discussion, but they're
Okay.
very basic.
Oh, you have?
We'll have one. Yeah.
You were busy enough last
So
Tuesday.
if, I just loaded it up based on if we were gonna use, Nohayden in the river or Native American on a canoe. So these are things like, if I had to talk to the illustrator, this is what I would tell him.
Oh,
So part of it is, it's gonna be a Mishoon, which is, you know, the appropriate canoe, which is made out of a log versus sort of skins and things like that. And
they
they're
were
like,
burned.
yeah, and I got pictures of that, so they can reference that. Wanted to make it so he's not the focus. I mean, you could say that's Nahoyden in the canoe, but we don't have to see any features. It could be almost like a silhouette, so it's just an outline. Or it could have some details, just depending on how the rest of the illustration goes. So that would be the middle ground, I was thinking. And then the foreground, we could have reeds and some natural objects, just to have something in the foreground. And then the background, we could work with, is it banks or rolling hills, or, you know, what is that exactly? What are we trying to show? Also with the Wetu, I think that's how you say it. Whether that's in or not, wasn't sure about that, because then that seems more like we're doing a expose on sort of Native American life in Needham. I wasn't sure if I went too far by showing too much, like a settlement and a fire and all that other stuff. You know, that's what's going through my head. And then Amber also provided, you know, what's a proper headdress, because that was one thing we always struggle with. But
Mhm.
then we were also like, if he's out on a canoe, is he wearing a headdress? Is that appropriate or not appropriate type of thing? It's not like I'm wearing a hat, but was it that casual, or was that only for special meetings or something that they would wear that? So that's kind of the stuff I was running through. So then these are more the things I found. So again, if I were to give this to an illustrator, there's the Mishoon, here's kind of what it looks like. You know, properly, you wrote off your knees. So I would tell him no seats, make him on his knees type of thing. You know, there's the one picture of High Rock that we kind of had, those the proper headdresses, and then there's Wetus, which are, you know, actually a lot of those were from Plymouth Plantation, so I figure they got the right ones there.
I just want to add in that Amber sent us the pictures of the headdresses.
Yeah, so that's, we're not guessing. So then I took this and I ran it through some AI and a bunch of different prompts to sort of say, what can I get out of here for composition? Like, for me, it was composition. We can work the details later, but how small should the canoe be? Should it be coming towards us, away from us? You know, what are some things to have this discussion about? So that's sort of where the next slide goes to. So,
Wow. Could do a lot.
yeah, there's a lot for sure. You know, once I sort of like the 3/4 sort of going away. I mean, it could be coming towards 2. Versus just sort of the flat, like going across seemed a little boring type of thing. It centers the composition nice, but I also thought, well, we could also just tip them out a little bit. This way we don't have to deal with facial features. We just have to kind of figure out what to do with the back and everything. And again, this would be the log canoe and he'd be on his knees type of thing. So those are the little details I'd have to bring out to somebody. I liked this sort of canoe, this sort of look, sort of the 3/4, or sort of almost, I won't say coming out of the weeds, like it could be coming out of composition, but I didn't want to park it in too much because then that would again make him bigger and more of the focus. I wanted more of the middle ground. This kind of puts it, you know, sort of doing that silhouette is really nice because that just, now we don't have to deal with anything as far as details and stuff. Most of these, they kept throwing in a sun or a moon or something. I thought that was too much type of thing. It looked too illustrative.
It looks like nighttime.
Right, so,
Also,
I
it's
think-
like rowing out into the sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finality of it.
it will, especially when he's going away from it.
Yeah.
So I asked one for some clouds, you know, I could do, like, again, if we go to Illustrator, he'll get the clouds right for the composition, but I sort of thought, I like this sort of movement with the canoe. I also like the movement, you know, they're doing something, they're just not sitting there. And something with a better sky type of thing. You know, the next one, so then I just sort of packed it into the layout. Sort of see how it would react, you know, what's the scale, how's everything else going? And certainly the one on the left, I mean, I kept thinking, well, if I could use that figure and that sort of layout and just tip the canoe a little bit so it just doesn't look like he's going straight across,
Mhm.
you know?
And it's still a smaller image than the one on the right.
Yeah,
And no sun or moon.
yep. So again, that's what I thought, like, well, that would be good jumping off point with everybody. Here type of thing.
You still have the feeling of a lake instead of a river.
Yeah, it's where it was hard to choose, you know, find a prompt. That's where I think it's easier to talk to the illustrator and say, well, it's like this, and we want to, you know,
Right.
this is the background more a little bit. I mean, I think certainly the one on the left makes the lake look more expansive. You know?
So that's something that can be fixed. You're trying to get the general.
Yeah, like, we want to have the canoe twice as big, or we need it twice as small, or I like this going on in the sky, you know, like, I feel like compositionally, I like the way that feels on the seal, but both of them that way.
Yeah, I think the canoe on the left is static. We just look like we're in outfitter shop.
Yeah.
But I think you need to move the canoe. The 3/4 view, I'd prefer paddling towards us. Because that looks like they're leaving the scene.
Yeah.
I think, and just, I know this, just AI, but it's, you know, the tails are too fanciful.
Oh,
And it's like, it's not the Charles River. Charles River.
Yeah. Well, I would,
Pretty, Charles River has a unique look, and you know it when you're in it.
The one thing I do like, and Amber, we were talking about the headwear, like the one on the left or right for that one. Either one could be anyone at any time in history, right?
I was gonna say, my eyesight, the one on the left, the silhouette, you
Yeah.
can't distinguish whether that's a Native American or not, at least
That's what
I
I
can't
mean.
tell from here.
yeah,
No, nothing's on your eyes.
So I don't know if that means adding a headdress of some kind to
I
clarify
think on that
who's
one,
paddling.
if the person was kneeling. And what you see of the log, because yeah, that looks more like looks like a modern canoe for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a machine.
So do you not want a settler in this seal at all?
Well. In a weird way, oh, you missed it.
The
Yes,
native
you missed
praying
a
Indian
very
community does.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I'm saying, like, if you went there, you would leave it up to your own who is paddling, right?
Yeah, in a weird way.
Well, you
It's a
know,
nod.
Well, you could say that is part of the native community that was here, or you could say that is Topher last weekend, right? Or you could say that was a settler when they were here checking out the land, you know?
But how
If
does,
you left it as a silhouette, it could be anybody.
it could be anybody anywhere though.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Thomas doesn't
Generic.
say Needham, other than there are words that say Needham.
Cause the plow is getting ready to knock
I mean,
it
it's
down.
not- it doesn't- I mean,
Right,
I think we've gotten to a point where it really isn't gonna say Needham,
It's,
you know. It might say Northeast,
I'm not even sure it says Northeast.
but it's not gonna say.
It's got
That does.
cattails.
that does not.
Yeah.
And nor
You're
would a tree.
But the existing
Yeah.
seal has a Charles River in it to absurd proportions, has a Mount High Rock that's not High Rock. I would
No,
also add
wait,
High
wait.
Rock to that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's.
So I think we have to add High Rock,
Good.
and I think we have to make a river banks look more like Charles River.
Not to make life difficult, but why not Hemlock Gorge?
I was just gonna
Oh,
say
don't get
that,
me started.
I was just gonna say that, I thought I'd be in
Isn't that
trouble.
in-
is that, yeah.
It is
No,
in
Only
there.
half of it,
Well,
But our side of it is Needham.
one side of it, the other side.
and that
How
is,
does the
that's
Needham have
that's
That
where
is
the
in fact,
Another
that is in
bridge.
fact-
That's right,
That's
part
where
of
the
the-
Houghton got his land, right?
That's, yeah, that was the party kept.
That's fair.
actually.
Should be called Nahoden's Grant.
Yeah, we've been working on that.
That's another meeting for them.
Yeah, release the seal and have a little meeting there.
Okay,
That is distinctive.
we can do anything we want. Well,
We can propose it.
what do you think, Louise?
Doesn't feel like a seal.
Okay,
I mean, it's a seal, but doesn't,
I know. There's also an AI illustration.
yeah.
Well, in your view, Louise, what's it missing? Something that makes it
Something
look
that
like
makes
Needham?
it Needham,
Something identifiable as Needham?
yeah. Whether it's the lore, like the event, or something else.
Something represented in art or symbol that's.
You know? The problem, Hemlock Gorge is interesting. Echo Bridge, I always felt like
Sorry.
a Newton. Is like, I think even friends of Hemlock Gorge think they're Newton. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but
has
it's still
more, it's very
Catholics.
connected with their image system.
Yeah, but you're not gonna use, I mean, that's late 19th century, not gonna
Right.
use Echo Bridge.
Right, but we could use. What bridge did the settlers take? What road is that now?
Cook's Bridge, Central Avenue.
No, get to that on the one they were complaining about.
The one they were
It's too far.
complaining about is
Great Lane?
actually Crocodile Bridge there. It's the culvert at the end of Great Plain Avenue.
So it's where he just
Alligator,
where I
it's
found the
alligator.
alligator.
Where's Alligator was.
It's where the cutoff is that makes the circle for the,
If you go down Great Plain Avenue until you get, like, going to St. Susanna's.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's that little culvert.
Yeah.
Oh, serious?
it's the little bridge that if you're going too fast.
Yeah, you basically, when
Oh,
you,
the narrow bridge.
yeah, you basically, when you, no, not the one into Dover.
No,
No,
That's the scary bridge.
The scary bridge. Oh, the narrow bridge versus the scary bridge, okay.
The one that gets you to Dedham.
The one that gets you to Dedham.
The
Oh,
back
Great-
one.
the end- At the end of Great Plain into
Oh, yeah.
Dedham. That was the original bridge.
Okay,
That's why it flooded all the time. It's a
you know,
practice.
they just
Floods all
have
the time
one
now.
thirty-five, there'd be no problem.
I know, really. What's wrong
But
with
we
these
didn't
people?
have 135.
No, what's one?
I remember when that was built.
Okay.
Hey, Gloria, what's one of the most early structures that,
The Fuller House on the corner of Forest Street and East Militia Heights is the oldest house, 1707.
But the one Babson owns,
Yeah.
it's full of cats.
It's fine.
Well, they haven't done anything other than buy it.
This is not
full
my.
of cats?
It's a salt box.
Yeah, that's.
Did you make a turn?
was it just a private residence or was it like?
It was, then Babson bought it. They haven't decided what they can do with it yet.
Like, what would, is there something like, what was our first town hall, meeting hall?
It was actually the first church. Because they didn't have a church from 1711 to 1720. So services were held.
So that sounds like something that should be avoided.
Yeah.
We were- You know, like,
On to the next thing.
Yeah, it's a
Can we come back to this?
Yeah,
pretty basic 1707.
Eliminating the presence of the Native American on the seal has been something we didn't want to do as a double negative. We
Right.
wanted to keep, so the house doesn't work, right? It has to be something natural, a natural
Yeah, I-
symbol that represents Needham. I don't know that people will recognize Hemlock Gorge if you don't put Echo Bridge on top.
yeah, I mean, it is, there is a point where, I mean, sure, I mean, it does one, you can't tell one riverbank from the next, is all.
Yeah.
So,
I think to some extent, people just assume it's the Charles River because it's the Needham Seal.
And it says Needham.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
if people use a bird or a tree, think you could find that anywhere, but then the tree says, whatever the name of the Cape Cod town is. The only way you get distinctive is with a particular year's building, and if we already did that with the cupola.
all right, if we did Charles River, High Rock. Native American canoeing, but not necessarily articulated too intensely, like, so that, yes, it's a Native American, we're not even saying Sheboygan, we're not even saying.
That's the tree.
That's a
It says contentment on AC.
Yeah, because Contentment was the larger area there.
Westwood has a tree house.
And Wellesley has a book and a flower and a feather, I can't remember.
Or changing it again.
It's a nice name.
Teddy, what do you think?
I don't think you want to know what I think.
Well, you wouldn't be
There are
here
two
if we-
books in the clerk's office that shows every seal in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And
And,
Well, you can look at them.
Yeah, we've looked at them all, they're all online.
what do you think of this?
What?
Of
Would
this
this fit in?
possibility?
Would this fit in with that?
I like the one on the right. But and no offense, Amber, I think there should be maybe even a settler sitting on the edge of the river or something, because it was two groups of people at the time when they became incorporated.
Okay.
That's just my thought.
no, that's fine. I mean, I think the problem with a settler was that was always, it seemed like it's gonna be a transaction. But,
There
And
was,
this-
there was.
There was,
there was,
That was in
but-
Dedham.
That's what you were showing.
It was with Deb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, we were trying to show it equal and interactive, but it wasn't. Things weren't at that time.
And now.
And now. We're trying.
Do we have a limited time contract with the illustrator? Do we
right,
want to try one and just see based on the feedback?
sure, can you generate something? Can you do it more stick figurey? So it's not, so, I mean, no joke, but like sometimes they'll look so realized. It's like, oh, wait, so that's how, there is the sun? It's like, no, it's not the sun. Or
You mean a simpler, rougher?
a simpler rough, because I don't want people to think, oh, that's the final version. It's like, no, it's, but just more sketchy, so it looks,
I mean, I could probably like almost flop on some piece of paper and just.
Yeah.
And like you said, hand sketch it, so.
that'd be perfect.
And instead of the canoe that looks like LLB, that you have a Machoon that really
Yeah, I
does
can-
look
I can-
different.
Yeah, I can.
And then,
Now, do that enough to what, show the next level or just show us?
us first, right? But,
I mean, we wouldn't have to be, I could do it and then we could just email it out to everyone, say, here's what we're,
you wanna do that?
people like it.
We're allowed to do that?
Should we have a comment back?
Oh, actually, no.
We can.
No. All right, we're meeting. Should you do another version? All right, when do you guys meet?
Do you want to do it, David, or should we just ask the illustrator to give more feedback and say,
Yeah, oh, look, wanna do that?
maybe we have a contract?
Yeah, I mean, I could describe things through, do we wanna do the canoe coming towards us?
Yes, not going away.
But not as big as the one on the right.
Yeah,
A little
It
bit
can be
smaller.
middle ground.
Maybe Yes, but no,
Yes.
small but large, coming but
Well,
going.
but that's.
Meaning not cattails.
Yeah, what, that gives
What do we
them,
have at Cutler Park? What are they? Russian? What is it?
Russians, yeah.
I have some tattoos.
Yeah, but no Phragmites.
There must be some cattails there too.
Sure.
There always
But
are.
not European loosestrife.
Right, no sun, no moon, no
No,
clouds.
that's, yeah, just, it's.
You want high rock?
High rock and
High
Snow
rock.
Clouds.
Yeah.
If you look at the
And
existing
clo-
seal, we
and
have high
more
rock.
of a river feeling.
I want to at least give people, when you go to town meetings, say, you had the Charles River, we have the Charles River. You had High Rock, we have High Rock. We have Nahoyden, well, we have
Someone.
Native American.
I'm just trying to imagine what's High Rock, what's even that look like from
Oh, see the picture?
a scene like that. I know we can make it up, but it's sort of like,
It was made up before.
You have to make it up because you can't see it from the river.
So it's just gonna be looming there.
Well, maybe you could have it on the side instead of looming.
Behind,
No, it has to be centered. It
It's
can't be-
really high rock.
sort of where that hill is in the right hand, that middle hill in the right hand
Yeah,
one,
Right,
and even the
it looks like
distance-
we're in a New
but the
Hampshire.
riverbank does not go up to it necessarily, it can be beyond the tree line. A bit.
Yeah, maybe trees in front of it help to make it.
Yeah, so it's not like that.
I think it's,
I don't know what else you could have unless it was something not nature, like the coop, right? Like it
Right.
would be so weird.
it would be.
Right,
like I've seen some do it with like, here's town hall and you throw a couple of buggy and carts in it, so it looks old. You know, maybe it's, but that's,
Every time we built
That's
that
like
town hall, we had
Plimpton too.
cars.
yeah.
1902, 1904. No, 1902. That's what's on the,
Maybe
That's what
we'll
I'm
do
sorry,
some
finishing
light
up
stands
right
with like leaves cut out, you know, and those ones. The first guy.
February 11th.
February 11th.
Would it be worth sharing some of the text that you read to us earlier or not?
yeah, that was just sort of giving background, I mean, Kevin gave good background, just what it is, and it's getting those details. Is all I was-
Now, I know we can't send it out privately, but is it possible to do it before the meeting that day, so we have thoughts in our heads?
Yes.
before we get it?
Let's
do that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, and it wasn't today because it wasn't ready.
Well, it was a huge change and it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, here without any context.
Yes.
See you in 4 o'clock, yes, I'll see you here. Oh. Do you want to adjourn? Might anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
All right, Griff, you roll call?
Yes.
All right, Amber. Whether or not to roll call, to adjourn.
Yes, all the good stuff.
All right, thank you. Teddy,
Yes.
Louise,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Topher.
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
and you know, okay. And the chair votes yes, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Keep going until we get it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amber.
Amber,
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
And all the tribal.
Bye, Cynthia.
Bye.